Eva Perón was the iconic First Lady of Argentina in the late 1940s and early 1950s, and her charisma and influence shaped a nation. Loved by many, she faced a tragic end when cancer claimed her life in 1952. But the story didn't end there. In the chaos that followed her husband's political downfall, Eva's body disappeared. She became a political pawn in a turbulent time, and her remains crisscrossed secret locations, and they were lost for 16 years. The body of the wife of a president vanished. Fast forward to 1971, when her body was discovered in a crypt in Italy under a false name. Why was it hidden? Who was behind the Vanishing Act? The mystery echoes through history, and you're going to have a hard time believing the twists and turns that went on even after the body was found. The story gets stranger, and you might just find yourself shaking your head more than once before this ride is over. Let's unravel the enigma of Eva Perón's missing body. Friends, welcome to the Mysteries of Latin America podcast. I'm Andrew Colon, your host, and this week I'm telling the highly unusual story of how Eva Perón's body disappeared for 16 years. For those of you who might not recognize the name of Eva Perón, you might remember the hit Broadway musical Evita, later made into a movie starring Madonna as Evita. They were both based on the iconic character of Eva Perón, who was affectionately known as Evita by her legions of fans and followers. Evita was a pivotal figure in Argentina. Rising from humble beginnings, she became the wife of President Juan Perón and the First Lady of Argentina in 1946. She dedicated herself to social justice causes, championing the rights of the working class and women. Her charisma and impassioned speeches resonated with the masses, solidifying her as a symbol of hope and empowerment. Eva played a crucial role in the establishment of social welfare programs and the expansion of women's rights. To this day, Eva Perón remains an iconic and controversial figure, revered by many for her advocacy and reviled by others for her association with her husband's political movement. The movement was founded by Juan Perón in Argentina and was a mix of populist policies, authoritarian tendencies, and absolutely was a cult of personality. Mention Juan Perón to someone from Argentina over 45, and you're likely to get an earful about how either great things used to be or how he was a dictator with a lust for power who suppressed his opposition by any means necessary. Despite Eva's profound influence on the nation's social and political landscape, her life was tragically cut short as she succumbed to cervical cancer on July 26, 1952, at the age of 33. Upon her death, her body underwent intensive embalming, which was just the beginning of Eva Perón's unorthodox life after death. Her embalmer wanted her preservation to equal that of Lenin. He was so meticulous that he preserved the body with all its internal organs intact, which are normally removed. The embalmer also reportedly made several wax and vinyl replicas of Eva Perón's body that were indistinguishable from the original. These body doubles were later used to deceive those who would go after the real corpse. But the real Eva Perón wasn't buried. Why? Well, shortly after Evita's death, plans were made to construct a memorial in her honor. But it wasn't just going to be any memorial. It was to be a monument projected to be larger than the Statue of Liberty. And Evita's body was to be stored in the base of the monument to be displayed in public. While the monument was being built, Evita's embalmed body was on display for almost 2 years in the building that housed the largest trade union sympathetic to the Peronist movement. Some would say she was embalmed and displayed to almost look like a saint, and it was no coincidence many called her Santa Evita. But before the monument to Eva was completed, Juan Perón was overthrown in a military coup led by a faction of the armed forces known as the Revolución Libertadora, the Liberating Revolution, in 1955. The deposed president then fled the country, but he was unable to make arrangements to secure Evita's body. Following his flight, the military dictatorship took power. The new authorities removed Eva's body from display, and her body disappeared for 16 years. Some accounts suggest that it was moved multiple times by supporters of the Peron family to avoid detection by their political enemies. However, most people agree today that the new group in power hid the body to lessen her influence on the people of Argentina, who would use her body and image to rally against the new government. The exact locations and individuals involved in hiding her body, though, remained shrouded in secrecy. But not for forever, and not without even more anomalies. After being moved to a number of military installations in Buenos Aires not long after the coup, Eva Perón's body ended up in the house of an army major who stored it in his attic under some old papers. But the body had to be moved again after the major mysteriously shot his wife. Now, to those of you listening who are unfamiliar with Argentina during this time, the military dictatorship was marked by mass political instability, human rights abuses, and a series of other coups that significantly shaped the country's history. During this period, political opposition was suppressed, civil liberties were restricted, and dissent was met with censorship and repression, and culminated with the establishment of the infamous junta, a new military dictatorship that waged a brutal campaign against perceived political opponents, left-wing activists, and anyone deemed a threat to the regime. This period was known as the Dirty War and witnessed widespread human rights abuses, including forced disappearances, torture, and executions. Within the chaos of years of this political instability, the mystery surrounding Eva Perón's missing body persisted until 1971, when investigators thought they had finally uncovered her remains in a crypt in Italy. Forensic experts then confirmed the identity of the remains as the body of Eva Perón. Her body was found under the false name of Maria Maggi, adding a layer of intrigue to this already complex story. The discovery raised questions about who was behind the concealment and what motivated them to hide it in a foreign country. It would eventually be revealed that in 1957, it was the military that sent the body to Italy and buried it in secret. The enigma reached its climax when on September 11, 1971, Eva Perón's body was exhumed from the crypt in Italy. The delicate process was carried out with a high degree of precision, as the body had already undergone damage prior to it being buried in the crypt. Finally, 2 months later, on November 11, 1971, Eva Perón's body was flown not to Argentina, but rather to Madrid, Spain, where her exiled husband Juan Perón lived with his new wife Isabel, and they kept the corpse in their home. It was reported that Isabel dutifully combed Eva's hair every day in daily devotion. At first, they decided to keep the embalmed body in, of all places, their dining room, near the table, while Juan Perón built a shrine for the body in their attic. In 1973, though, Juan Perón came out of exile and returned to Argentina, where he became president for the third time and died in office in 1974. Juan Perón's third wife, Isabel, who had been elected vice president when her husband came back to be president, succeeded Perón and had Eva Perón's body returned to Argentina to be displayed beside her husband's corpse. Eva's body was later buried in the Duarte family tomb in La Recoleta Cemetery in Buenos Aires. Later, Argentine governments took elaborate measures to make Eva Perón's tomb secure. The tomb's marble floor has a trap door that leads to a compartment containing 2 coffins. Under that compartment is a second trap door and a second compartment. That is where Eva Perón's coffin rests, as far as we know. In life, Eva Perón was a symbol and an icon to the poor people of Argentina. Her body, however, was such a powerful symbol that instead of being able to rest in peace following her death, everyone tried to control it. The discovery and repatriation of Eva Perón's body brought closure to a chapter of Argentine history fraught with political turbulence. The event underscored the enduring legacy of a woman who, even in death, remained the center of a gripping tale that unfolded against the backdrop of power struggles and top secrecy. Friends, thanks so much for listening to this latest episode of the Mysteries of Latin America. I think I might just have to pop open a bottle of Argentine Malbec wine and raise a glass to you and to the iconic Eva Perón. If you enjoyed the podcast, subscribe, follow, and share it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and iTunes, iHeartRadio, and everywhere else you're listening to us. Let's do this again next week. I'm Andrew Colon. Adios. Thank you.